Beginning. The child who didn't run. The first time I met her, she was sitting on a broken storage crate outside the ruins of the old embassy, legs dangling, humming to herself as if the war around her hadn't ended just 2 weeks prior. A child. Alien. Alone. And completely unafraid of me. The sun was dipping behind the shell-scarred skyline of Alien Prime, painting the shattered city in gold and rust. Smoke still drifted from the eastern sectors. The ceasefire had come, but peace was crawling behind it, slow and limping. Captain Marcus Vale of the Human Coalition, was supposed to be on a civilian recovery patrol. I was not supposed to find a child with violet skin, silver eyes, and markings along her cheeks that shimmered like bioluminescent ink. She stared at me openly as I approached. No fear. No hesitation. Just expectation. You shouldn't be here, I said, lowering my weapon out of instinct more than training. It's not safe. She tilted her head. You're human.
Yeah.
Problem? No, she smiled. I've been waiting for one. Her voice was soft, musical, almost too calm. I scanned the area. No adults. No guards. No signs of a trap. What's your name? I tried. Saris. And where are your parents? She looked down at her feet, swinging them slowly. Gone. The single word carried a weight I recognized. I had heard it too many times during evacuation missions from too many children who lost everything to the conflict. I'm sorry, I said. She looked up again, silver eyes intense. It's why I chose you. Chose me for what? To be my father. I blinked. Hard. That's not something you can just. You're human, she said again, as if it explained everything. You're the only ones who don't run from responsibility. That wasn't true. Not always. Not even often. But something in her tone made me stay quiet. Saris, I said gently, you don't know me. Oh, I do, she whispered. I've seen you before. My stomach tightened. What does that mean? She pointed toward the ruins of the embassy. That's where we met. You saved me. I had saved many children over the course of the war, scattered, terrified, wounded. But her face, those silver eyes. Something tugged in the back of my memory. There was a bombing at the embassy, I said slowly. 3 months ago. I carried out a child from the debris. That was me, Sarah said. And my mother told me humans protect. Humans choose. Humans love even when they have nothing left. The way she said it tore straight through my defenses. But this wasn't just some lost child seeking shelter. There was something deeper, something intentional in the way she looked at me, something knowing. Saris, why want a human as a father?
She straightened.
Because I'm not supposed to exist. My breath caught. What? My people call me an impossibility. Born in a way I shouldn't have been. A sign. A danger. They fear what I'll become. But Mother said a human would understand. The ruins cracked under a distant tremor. The planet wasn't done collapsing after the war. And yet she sat there, calm, like the chaos meant nothing. Understand what? I asked. Her eyes glowed faintly. Because I'm evolving.
Changing.
Growing too fast. And soon, I'll be hunted. That was the moment I realized. This child wasn't lying. And she wasn't safe. Not from her people. Not from the remnants of ours. Not from the factions still bitter and armed. I exhaled slowly. Come on, I said. You're coming with me. She took my hand without hesitation. And as her small fingers curled around mine, I knew my life had just changed forever. Middle. The secret everyone wanted. The base didn't like surprises, especially alien ones. Sergeant Harlan nearly choked when he saw me walking in with a small violet-skinned child holding my hand like we were headed to a picnic. "What the hell is that?" he whispered. "She's a kid, Harlan," I snapped. "Cut it out. It's a Zarian. They eat their young." Saris raised a brow. "Do you?" Harlan went pale. "No." "Then your rumor is incorrect," she said politely. I fought a smile. The kid was sharp, but the higher-ups were less amused. Commander Rivas stared at me like I'd dragged in a live bomb. "Captain Vale," she said with a tone colder than vacuum, "why is there an alien child sitting in my chair?" Saris looked up from spinning in it. "It rotates," she explained calmly. I cleared my throat. "Commander, this child is alone. And in danger. Her people won't take her back." "Not our responsibility," Rivas said instantly. "Return her to the Zarian authorities." "She doesn't have any," I insisted. "And the ones who remain, she's afraid of them. They want her dead." Rivas paused. Saris stopped spinning. "I'm not imagining things," I added. "She told me she's what the Zarians call an impossibility.
An anomaly.
And she's right, she's evolving. Fast." "Define fast." Saris rolled up her sleeve. Bioluminescent markings pulsed along her forearm. "Yesterday," she said, "they weren't there." Rivas stared. "Commander," I said quietly, "she needs protection. Guidance. A home." "And you volunteered?" I hesitated. Saris didn't. "Yes," she said simply. "He already agreed." Rivas frowned. "He did." Saris nodded. "He said, 'Come on,' and took my hand. That counts." "That." I sputtered. "That is not an adoption ceremony." But Rivas leaned back, studying me with a calculating gaze. "You care," she said. "That's rare these days." I didn't deny it. In a war-torn galaxy where everything had been taken, here was something to save. Something innocent. Something new. Something that chose me.
"Fine," Rivas said at last. "She stays."
But on one condition. I braced myself. "She's your responsibility." Saris lit up. I groaned. And that's how I became the legal guardian, at least temporarily, of an alien child with glowing skin and a destiny she didn't fully understand. Her power and the truth of her birth. Over the next week, Saris changed. Not emotionally, no. She stayed cheerful, curious, and painfully honest, but physically. Her markings grew brighter. Her senses sharpened. She learned languages with frightening speed. She solved tactical puzzles in minutes that took soldiers hours. And then came the night. She woke me up by floating 3 inches off the ground. "Saris," I whispered, stunned. "How are you doing that?" "I don't know," she admitted. "I dreamt I needed to reach higher. And then I did." Her heartbeat was calm. Her breathing steady. Her eyes glowing more brightly than ever. I contacted Rivas immediately. Rivas listened, then cursed under her breath. "We need to run tests." "No," Saris said quietly. "No more tests." Rivas stiffened. It wasn't a request. Saris lowered to the floor, stepping slightly behind me. And just like that, everything made sense. The fear. The hiding. The reason she wanted a human guardian. "Commander," I said firmly, "she's not an experiment. She could be dangerous." "Yes." I stepped in front of Saris. "But so is every soldier here. And we give them trust." Rivas stared. Saris's small hand clutched the back of my shirt. In that moment, trust was all we had. Rivas finally exhaled.
"Fine.
But if anything else happens."
"It won't," I said.
"Not without me knowing." The enemy, who knew her name.
Peace didn't last.
It never does. 2 weeks after Saris arrived, A Zarian warship entered orbit, unauthorized. Their message was short, sharp, and chilling. Surrender the anomaly, or we take her by force. Rivas froze. They know she's here.
How?
I demanded. We leaked nothing. Saris stepped forward. It's my fault, she whispered. I light up. They can track what I am. What you are? I asked. She swallowed. My mother wasn't Zarian. She wasn't even from this galaxy. The room fell silent. Then what was she? Rivas asked. Saris looked at me, not at the commander.
Me.
A shaper, she said. A species that could create life and reshape their own biology. She passed that to me. And the Zarians hate anything they can't control. She looked so small, so guilty, so afraid. Not for herself, but for us. They will destroy this base to get me. Rivas cursed. We need to evacuate. No, Saris shook her head. They want me.
Not you.
If I leave, they'll leave too. Absolutely not, I snapped. I'm not letting you walk into their hands. Her silver eyes softened. You already did more for me than anyone ever has.
You protected me.
You stayed. That's why I knew you were the one. The one for what? I asked. To be my father, she whispered. Her voice broke. And so did I. The choice and the attack. The Zarian ship didn't wait for negotiations. They attacked at dawn. Explosions rocked the compound as dropships landed outside the perimeter. Soldiers scrambled to defend the walls. Sirens wailed. The ground shook. I grabbed Saris and ran. Marcus, she cried, gripping my uniform. I'm getting you out of here. But they want. I don't care what they want. We reached the back transport tunnels as the ceiling shook from bombardment. A squad of Zarians blocked the exit. Their leader stepped forward, eyes burning with fanatic conviction. Return the anomaly, he hissed. She is ours. She's a child, I shouted. She is evolution gone wrong. Saris trembled behind me. The Zarian raised his weapon. And that's when she screamed. Not in fear, not in pain, in instinct. Her markings blazed white. The air rippled. The ground vibrated. And a wave of energy burst outward. The Zarians flew back, slammed against the walls, unconscious or worse. Saris collapsed to her knees, shaking. I didn't mean to. I didn't want to hurt them. I knelt, pulling her into my arms. It's okay, I whispered. You protected yourself. You protected me. She sobbed into my chest, and I held her like she was my own blood. The ending. You are my father. We escaped the collapsing base just before the last bombardment hit. Human reinforcements arrived hours later, forcing the Zarians to retreat. But the galaxy had changed. Everyone now knew there existed a child with power never seen before, one both sides wanted, feared, or sought to control. Rivas met us during evacuation. She can't stay here, the commander said quietly. Too many eyes on her now. I know. Where will you go? I looked down at Saris, still holding my hand, exhausted but alive. Somewhere quiet, I said. Somewhere safe. Rivas hesitated. And you're sure about this? I looked at Saris. She looked at me. Her silver eyes were steady now, not glowing with power, but something far more human. I don't want another protector, she said. I don't want a guardian. I want a father. She placed her small hand over my heartbeat. And I choose you. I swallowed hard. War had taken much from me, friends, years, pieces of my soul. But here, in the ruins of a world trying to rebuild, something new had found me. Something worth living for. I knelt to meet her eyes. Then I choose you too. Her face lit brighter than her markings had ever glowed. And for the first time in years, I felt whole. We boarded the shuttle, just the two of us, heading toward a future unknown, dangerous, unpredictable, but together. Father and daughter.
By choice.
By fate. By love stronger than fear. And as the stars stretched into lines around us, Saris whispered, "Mom was right. Humans don't run from responsibility." I squeezed her hand. "Not from family.